Hello everyone, it's Phenomenal. I'm Mike,
I'm Andrew.
and we're back for the final part of our Fire and Leaf Green encounter tier list. So, last time, I believe we ended with the coughing line, and we're going to start with the Rhyhorn line.
Yep.
So, for Rhyhorn, I had this in C tier.
Yeah, I actually put them in high C tier, which, I don't know, like, might have been generous. Like, I don't know, they're in C tier.
Yeah, like, I had them, like, mid C tier, like, I don't know, there isn't a lot going for this type. Like, I don't think it has, like, great stats. And, like, I think, the rock ground, like, it can work. I think, like, Geodude is a decent Pokemon, whereas I don't think Rhyhorn is as good. I think, the worst part about it is, like, you get it late in the game. You can only get in the Safari Zone, and, like, there are much better encounters you could be getting in the Safari Zones. Like, it's just not really worth it.
Yeah, like, out of the, if we're looking at the rock ground types of the game, like, the Geodude line is way better, because you get it at a point where it's much, much, much more useful to you. Like, you get to Rhyhorn in the Safari Zone, and it's like, you don't need him at all. If you're using Earthquake, you've got way faster, better people to use Earthquake. It's also kind of like a difficult encounter in the Safari Zone, because, like, it's easier than other stuff you can catch in there, but, like, nothing is ever easy to catch in the Safari Zone, per se. Like, you always have the risk of them running away, so, like, it's nowhere near as common or as easy to catch as a Geodude, and then if you do catch it, you're not really getting anywhere near as much use out of it. It does not have a very impressive learn set. It doesn't really learn anything that great. And so basically every other ground type in the game outperforms it relative to where you catch it and what they can do for you. So, like, you catch this thing and, like, you're not really ever going to use it. You never have a reason for it. So I would put it below Sandshrew for sure, because I think it's worse than the other ground types. I might drop it below Lickitung too, just because Lickitung has some, like, moveset versatility that Rhydon doesn't have. So maybe, like, below Lickitung.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Like, I'm not even sure, like, maybe a Farfetch'd and a Ponyta would be better. I'm not entirely sure. Like, you really never need to use a Rhydon.
Yeah, once you're beyond Surge, and I think even at that point, like, in Fuchsia, like, you've gone through, like, the majority of, like, the flying type trainers. Like, there's really just no need for a rock ground at this point, especially a slow one. So, like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Like,
I could drop it down here.
Is it the worst? Is it worse than Paris?
I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, Paris, at least you're catching before Misty. Like, yeah,
like, it really just doesn't offer anything.
The funny thing is that even Onyx, just for when you're getting it, might be offering more, like, defensively, but...
God. No,
Onyx is its own thing. Yeah, I think we put it below Paris, because at least you get a Paris, and, like, Misty's there. Even if it's not good for Misty, it's there for you for a much longer span of time. So, yeah, I guess we just put him at the bottom. Next up is an interesting one. We have Chansey. So, I had Chansey in B tier.
Yeah, I had it in C, but...
That's fair.
Yeah.
Like, because the biggest thing about Chansey is, like, you're not really ever very likely to catch this thing to begin with. It's super rare. Like, it's incredibly rare in the Safari Zone, and it's incredibly difficult to catch. And then if you do catch it, it's, like, it's a non-Blissey. Like, it's not Blissey, because you can't get Blissey until after you've beaten the Elite Four. And then, like, it's in a game without an Eviolite, so, like, Chansey is just kind of worse in this game than it will be in later generations. Which isn't to say that Chansey is bad, because Chansey is pretty good. Like, obviously it's got incredible bulk and health, but that's a really, like, narrow niche that it's filling. And, like, even if you somehow were to get the Chansey, I do think that, like, that spot on the team is probably better given to someone else. Like, the Chansey is just there as, like, a sponge to absorb damage, but, like, in the late game, when you're going to have this thing, I do think that, like, dealing damage becomes more important than tanking damage in this game. And with how difficult of an encounter it's just not incredibly useful. So, yeah, like, it's just alright.
I think, the combination of the fact that, it is such a rare encounter to begin with, and also, like, if you do get it, I don't really see a reason to use it in these games. Just sort of, like, it could fill that niche of, like, a defensive sponge, but I feel like you don't really need that.
I think, like, for me right now, I'd probably just put it above Krabby.
Yeah.
Because I don't actually think it hangs with these people right now at the bottom of B. Like, I do think it's a C tier. based on our current list. And I do think it's worse than Clefable.
Yeah.
And, like, honestly, it might be worse than, like, a Cubone, or it might be closer to, like, Lickitung. Yeah, that feels right to me. Like, Chansey is a great Pokemon that's just not that great in this game. It's just kind of okay.
Okay, so next we have Tangela, and I had this in C tier.
Yeah, I had it in C tier.
Yeah, like, I just, I remember having a pretty hype moment with Tangela in one of my runs, but as an actual encounter, like, pure grass is okay, like, it just doesn't have the poison weakness.
Yeah, it's not weak to Psychic, which is nice.
Yeah, but, like, Tangela just doesn't have a lot. Like, I don't think its stats are amazing. I don't think it has a super great learn set. And, like, yeah, I think just the other grass types are just giving you more options, because, like, it doesn't learn Sleep Powder, I'm pretty sure, or, like, Leech Seed. Like, it doesn't have, like, the utility that some of the other grass types have. I think the only thing I can really say about it is, like, it's, basically, like, a guaranteed encounter, like, below Pallet Down if you need it for whatever reason, but I just don't, I don't really see a situation where you ever really need a Tangela.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, the best things that it has going for it are that it's a pure grass type, so it's not getting any of the baggage that comes with, like, the other secondary types, and that it's a guaranteed encounter if you want it to be. It's usually going to be guaranteed by the point that you're able to get the Tangela. Like, you can just decide to take that grass encounter and get a Tangela. So if you really want a grass type, it's there, but you're probably not really going to want a grass type by that point. Like, you don't need one for the end of the game. So by the time that you're getting Tangela, you've kind of superseded the necessity of the grass type. Like, that, unless it's like a Venusaur or maybe, like, all of the grass types you're adding onto your team at this stage in the game are usually for something that the Tangela doesn't have. There is also the in-game trade Tangela, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
But, like, I don't really know when you'd be using that. So it's a situational use, and it's a single stage Pokemon that is not incredibly strong. Like, it's no Tauros or Snorlax. So I would probably put this thing also around here, probably above Chansey.
Yeah.
All right, next up is Kangaskhan. And I had Kangaskhan in B tier somewhere. I wasn't entirely sure which part of B tier, but I had it up in B.
Yeah, I had it in low B, but yeah, I think it is somewhere in the B tier.
And, like, in terms of why, like, I mean, the biggest elephant in the room for this is that Kangaskhan is so hard to catch. Like, you have to get pretty lucky to even find the Kangaskhan, and then if you do find it, you have to get incredibly lucky to catch it. So the chances of you getting this Kangaskhan on the team are pretty low to begin with. And then, beyond that, if you do get the Kangaskhan, you're getting it in the second half of the game. And I think that Kangaskhan, more than some of the other, like, bulky, like, more than, like, a Snorlax or something like that, is a little bit more difficult to place on an endgame team. Because, yeah, like, maybe you have the Snorlax already. And if you have the Snorlax, you're probably not replacing it with the Kangaskhan. And it has an okay moveset. Like, it's very strong, and then it can learn Strength, and it can learn, like, Surf and Brick Break, I believe, and it has, like, that interesting normal-type moveset, but, like, so does a Snorlax, and so I think that it is just kind of a poor man's Snorlax in a lot of ways, and it's really good, but it's so much harder to encounter it and then get it, and its learn set is just kind of okay. So it's just very middle tier to me, like, it just kind of screams middle of B.
Yeah, like, the worst part about it is, yeah, just how difficult it is to catch. Yeah, by the time you get it, like, it could be useful just given how, strong it is and how, yeah, it does have a decent move pool. But yeah, just like, if you can get Snorlax, like, Snorlax is just a better Kangaskhan. And like, I just even think, like, compared to some other normal types, like, I think Kangaskhan has decent stats. I don't know if it's, like, particularly fast. So, like, I think even, Eradicate or a Persian, like, they're offering probably more, like, so I think they're even, like, better normal types, aside from, like, the Snorlax as, like, a direct comparison. Like, they're just offering more than the Kangaskhan does.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like, for me, I'm thinking somewhere like here.
Okay, so next up we have the Horsea line, and I had them in B tier.
I had them in C tier.
Yeah, like, this might be, me kind of maybe overvaluing, like, the water type. Because, like, I don't think, like, Siege is particularly good. I think it's okay. And, like, it has the staple, like, Surf, Ice Beam. So, like, I think that might be a reason alone to have it in B, but I don't think there's much else, like, to it.
Yeah, when I gave it my ranking, I was kind of valuing it in reference to the other water types in the game, and it definitely falls behind. Similarly to like the Krabby and Kingler in C tier, I think like the Horsea and Seadra are okay, and they're a little better because they don't have like the stat problem that Krabby has per se. But when you have such easy access to so many really good water type encounters, I feel like if you're getting this as a water encounter, it's kind of bad, you know? Like, if you get this and you, instead of getting like a Shelder, or instead of getting like like God forbid, like you get this in place of a Staryu, like it's a bad encounter in that case because of what you're trading for it. It's just not that great, and it offers the normal advantages that the water type offers in this generation. But I think that if we're looking at it from an encounter perspective, like when they're out of all the water types in the game, this is one of the worst ones. That really makes me lean like C tier. Like just kind of Krabby zone.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Like I don't know a lot about Horsea here. Just like I don't know, like I don't think they have incredible stats.
Yeah,
so,
like obviously this would all change if Kingdra were available, but with Kingdra being unavailable, I just don't. I mean, I've never used one, and I never plan to use one because there's never a reason to have one of these in your run.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, like there are just so many other better water types you could be running.
Alright, speaking of mediocre water types, next we have Goldeen and Seaking. I also had these in C.
Yep.
Because it's a lot of the same thing as with Horsea and Seadra, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but these things can be easy to encounter because there's a few spots where it's just, you're almost definitely going to get this. Specifically, you could use your Safari Zone encounter to pretty much guarantee a Goldeen or a Seaking while you're trying for the Dratini. So there are a lot of Nuzlocke runs where, at least personally, I have ended up with a Goldeen or a Seaking because I was trying for the Dratini. But then it goes into the box and never leaves because there's literally no reason to use this thing in comparison to any of the other water types in the game. When you're in a world where an Old Rod guarantees you a Magikarp, using a Goldeen is insane. So there's not really much more for me to say there. Its moveset is a water type's moveset, and it doesn't really have much. Its stats aren't crazy. Like there's nothing that's setting it apart. So I just think that it's really not a great encounter. And especially, like I said, if you're in the Safari Zone and this is the encounter you get instead of the Dratini, you're trading down.
Yeah, I think it is just the fact that this is the worst water encounter in the game. Like at least even like with Krabby and Kingler, like at least I think they have a good like attack stats. Like you could maybe give them like a Vice Grip or something like to do some damage. But yeah, I just don't think Seaking. It's just the worst water encounter. That's all there really is to it.
Yeah, and in terms of placing Seaking, I think it's below Seadra and Krabby for sure because it's the worst water type in that. Weirdly enough, it's a physically attacking water type, but it's like its attack is way lower than Kingler's, so I'd probably put it below Tangela or below Chansey. I'm like somewhere here.
Yeah. Is Lickitung better?
Maybe Lickitung has
Probably.
more versatility. Like,
yeah.
Pop it there.
Yeah. All right. Next, we have the Starmie line, and I think we're both in agreement that this is S tier.
Yeah, no question.
I mean, what is there to say about this Pokemon? Like, it's water psychic, it has incredible stats, high SP attack, high speed. It has a great move pool, like
Surf, Psychic, Ice Beam,
Thunderbolt. Like, if you're not running those 4 things on a Starmie, you're doing yourself a disservice, because like this thing has it all. And yeah, like it's a fairly common encounter. It's a stone evolution.
This thing is the total package.
Yeah, like this is like the jack of all trades in a way.
Right. Like, it's got this incredible versatility, incredible stats, incredibly easy to encounter, incredibly easy to evolve it, and like it's also like it can almost be guaranteed in most runs to encounter it in the first place depending on your rule set. And once you get it, it's just like easy inclusion on any endgame team because it can essentially sweep the entire Elite Four. It doesn't have any trouble on any of them. It can take on every member of the Elite Four. So realistically, the question becomes like, how high in S tier is this thing? Like, it's at least tier. It might be the best.
It might be. I think it's the best.
I think it's the best.
It's more common. It's more accessible than an Abra, and like it's doing basically the same thing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's getting Stab Psychic as well, and it gets Ice Beam. So, yeah, I'm like super comfortable putting Starmie at the top. Like, very easy to solo the end of this game with a Starmie. So, all right. Next is Mr. Mime. I had him at like a strong B by virtue of the Psychic type.
I had him in C. So here's the thing. Here's
the thing of what you're giving up for the Mr. Mime.
I had him as like my lowest ranked Pokemon only because yes, you're giving up the Abra for
True.
it,
If you're looking at it from literally only an encounter perspective, it's the worst possible trade you could make.
Yeah.
Because it's just a straight downgrade of a trade.
Yeah. But as an actual Pokemon, I guess it is okay.
Well, hey, it gets like Barrier. Like, he technically offers something different to the Alakazam, but it's not really worth it in like a normal run. Like, you want the quicker, stronger Alakazam. So yeah, it totally depends on how you're looking at it. Like, you know, looking at him just on paper as its own Pokemon, it's fine. Like, and it's a good Psychic type. Stats are fine. Speed is fine. Special attack's good. It's got an okay moveset. But yeah, you're giving up an Abra for it. Like, what kind of fool must you be to have the Mr. Mime on your team in the first place?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like in this situation, like, I know, we are trying to, like, kind of look at, you know, as the encounter as a whole, but, like...
I don't know. This isn't encounter tier list, and, like, if you've encountered this, you've made a mistake.
Yeah,
basically.
Like, it's the worst encounter to get, just what you're sacrificing. Like, it's just a straight downgrade.
Right, so yeah, Mr. Mime, good Pokemon, bad idea.
Yeah. Alright, so next we have Scyther!
Nice.
And yeah, he's C tier.
Yeah, I had him in C tier.
I mean, I don't know, like, you can get him, like, he's a Safari Zone encounter. You could also get him in the game corner.
Yeah, you can purchase him.
I don't know, he just doesn't really have a lot going for him. Like, he doesn't have the utility of, like, a Butterfree. Yeah, and at that point in the game, like, the bug type isn't really offering you a lot. And it doesn't even really learn any good bug type moves. Like, in this generation, the bug type isn't really that good of a type. So, like, it just doesn't really have a lot to offer. Like, I don't exactly know its stats. I think it's probably, like, decently strong. I don't know. I just don't... It doesn't seem like it's offering a lot of value.
Yeah, in this region, in this game, like, there's nothing that you really get out of a Scyther by the point that you're getting it. Like, if somehow you get it in the Safari Zone, like, maybe by rule of cool, you might put it on the team for a while because you got the Scyther. But, right. Like, you're never, like, buying this at the game corner because it's, like, the worst purchase there, pretty much. Like, everything else is better than it. Like, an Abra, a Dratini, a Porygon, like, those are all way better than Scyther. And it just, in this region, like, it's a cool Pokemon, obviously, but it's not doing anything for you, so it's, like, an easy C tier. In terms of where we'd place it, like, I don't even know. Like, it's pretty low. Like, it doesn't really do anything for you, so...
Yeah, like...
Like, Paris level?
Yeah, but, and even, like, Paris still might offer more just for Misty. Like, and
yeah,
grass
like,
type. So, like, I guess. Like, is it better than Rhydon? Maybe?
Maybe.
Just because, like, I think it has maybe some broader use with, like, its moves.
Right. I mean, we're kind of, like, this is such a granular level here. Like, it's down here for sure. And
yeah.
I feel like that's enough for us to know. Okay, next up is Jynx. I have her at low S tier.
Yeah, I had her, like, mid S tier.
Mid would be alright too. Like, I mean, Jynx is really good, and like, it's a trade Pokemon where you're trading a Poliwhirl for it, so like, it's a pretty good trade too, because Poliwhirl is easy to encounter. Like, this is like the type of Pokemon that you pick up at the end game once you've guaranteed a Poliwhirl, and you're just adding an incredibly solid Pokemon to the team just to take on the Elite Four. Like, that's the type of role that Jynx usually fills. And it's really great for the end game. Psychic Ice is just an incredible type. It's got a great speed stat. It's got a good special attack stat. It learns the moves it needs to learn, and you can always teach it others if you need to. And then it just kind of plows through portions of the Elite Four, and is really good against the champion as well. It's really good fighting against Gary. So like it just offers so much for that end portion of the game that like there's no way it's not S tier for me.
Yeah, I think, yeah, Jynx is definitely the best Pokemon to like just get for the Elite Four because, yeah, it just covers so much of the Elite Four in this game. Even just, yeah, like getting it early on your team, like just having a fast Psychic user is just good. It's like, yeah, it's a really good Pokemon. It's definitely just like a solid pick for your endgame team.
In terms of ranking, I'd probably just drop it right above the Nidos, personally. Like, I think Bulbasaur, Venusaur beats it out just because, like, you're having that from day one, and it helps so much in the early game. And then, like, Jynx is, like, the end game monster.
Yeah, I'd agree. Okay, so next we have Electabuzz. And I had him in B tier, kind of like bottom of B.
Yeah, I had him just like B, like solid-ish B, but B. Although, like,
yeah.
it always depends, but yeah, like B.
Electabuzz is interesting because, like, I think he's okay. Like, I think he has okay stats. Like, the electric type is useful, but I think he's, I think he's the worst of the electric types in the game because, like, I don't think, the other ones are faster, they're more common. You can only get him in the power plant. Like, you're probably better off getting the Magneton. So, like, I don't know. Just, like, he's okay if you get him, but, like, you're just missing out on better electric type encounters.
Yeah, like, he's good, but he probably is the weakest electric type, although he does have a really interesting, like, moveset versatility that isn't necessarily matched by the others. Like, he can learn Psychic, for example, if like you're really down and out and like he's all you've got, like he's there for you. Now, yeah. I don't know what type of situation that would ever occur in, but his moveset's interesting. So he has that. And like, yeah, he can find a place on the team, but like usually you're probably better off with a separate electric type. Like get that Electrode on the team, get the Magneton on the team, like before the Electabuzz. So B tier, probably above the Golduck. What do you think of that?
Yeah, like, I guess so. Like, like if you do have him, like he can be useful. So like, I think he's better than some of the other B tier encounters.
Okay, well if we move on from Electabuzz, next we have Magmar, and I had Magmar similar to Electabuzz, but like lower than him. Like he'd probably also be like a really bottom B tier.
Yeah, I also had him in low B, although honestly, like, I could maybe see him in like C.
Yeah, like the fire type is not as useful in Kanto as the electric type, and when you're getting Magmar, it's just like, why do you need him?
Yeah, like I think, looking at our list now and just like kind of realizing like it's basically the same situation as Ponyta. Like by the time you get it, like it doesn't really offer you much.
Yeah, like you don't really need to go out of your way to get this. Like at that point, fire, a single evolution fire type isn't offering anything to you to like help you win the game or anything. So I'd be okay with C. I don't even know like, where, like, upper
put it
C,
right,
like...
Is it right next to Ponyta, or do you think it's better than some of these?
I'm not sure. Like, I mean, within the C tier, I'm going to be honest, a lot of these, like, I think their positions are pretty variable, like, depending on the run, but... Yeah, I mean, we could just put it like I think it's like just maybe like a better Ponyta, slightly, given its moveset. Like, it has the same thing with Electabuzz, where it does have an interesting learn set, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like drop it above Ponyta. Just that general area. I do think that in that case, I'm probably going to drop Electabuzz, though. Maybe like here.
Alright. Yeah.
Just because I think Kangaskhan also has that diverse moveset, but is also just a little, like, more all-around on a team. But yeah. Generally around that. Electabuzz is the better of the two, just like because you're getting him more easily and at a place where he's still useful.
Okay, so next up we have Pinsir.
Scyther 2.
Yeah, like I had him in C, and he's basically the same thing as Scyther. I don't know if he has a better attack stat. I feel like he does.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't write a lot down for Pinsir because, like, while it is like a slightly different case, like different learn set, different type. It's a different type, right? It's not flying.
Yeah, it's just bug.
Yeah, like, mono bug. Like, it's different, but like it's just like the same situation. Pretty much everything we said about Scyther applies to Pinsir, and I think Pinsir is just slightly better than Scyther.
Yeah,
but like it's same story.
Yeah, I think it just has maybe a little bit of a better move set. But it's basically, this offering the same thing Scyther's offering, which isn't a lot.
Next up, Tauros. I had Tauros and like Tauros was a hard one for me for this game. So I had B tier or C tier. I'm like, he's good, but
yeah, like I had him in B, but
it's tough. Like
hard.
It's the Kangaskhan dilemma of being tough to catch, and where like you're not going to see it do too much in the end game. I don't think it has quite as versatile a moveset as a Kangaskhan or a Snorlax, so it's strong, like it has pretty good stats and like it's useful, but like getting it in the Safari Zone, like, and getting like a slightly less versatile normal type, like what team is this guy going on? I think that's the main thing that holds it back for me. Like I'd argue just like a upper C.
Yeah.
Kind of maybe like there.
If you want this one, you could. I know you're more spiritually connected to Gyarados at this point.
I'm the Gyarados guy, but like I honestly don't know where I put Gyarados in this game. I don't know if it's an upper, like it's either top of S or top of A or like maybe, I'm not sure, because it's not as good in this game as other games. But it's still a Gyarados.
Yeah, I mean like for me personally, I had it as the second best encounter, next only below Eevee. So like,
well, hold on, let me like put him in here so that we're already talking about him. Next is Magikarp and Gyarados. We got a little ahead of ourselves, but yeah, I wasn't entirely sure. Like, I think that he's still like an S, but I probably would put him like down a little lower just because of his Elite Four usage. Like, if I'm comparing a Gyarados in the Elite Four to like all these other Pokemon in the Elite Four, the Gyarados kind of underperforms in this generation. But he balances it out by being incredibly useful for the entire game. So
yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Like, I personally had him very high S. And like,
well, the
yeah,
biggest thing he has is that you can catch a Magikarp anywhere. Like,
yeah, like he is the most common encounter in the game because yeah, you can fish for him anywhere, and like
definitely above the Nidos at least.
Yeah, and like, you know, he's easy to evolve. Like he evolves early. Yeah, his biggest weakness is just the generation he's in because like Gen 3 doesn't give a lot for Gyarados, but like, you know, like, yeah, it has Intimidate. Like, you give it Strength, it's hitting pretty hard. It's maybe not. Yeah, like even for the Elite Four, like, yeah,
not bad. It's not bad.
It doesn't specifically offer a lot. Yeah, but like, yeah, it's bulky. Like, it could still hit things hard.
Yeah, Gyarados' greatest strength in this game is just as a really good pivot. Like, throughout the entire game, you pivot into a Gyarados and like you're not afraid anymore.
Yeah, so I don't know. I would argue it's probably the best encounter in the game, only because like you can get it pretty much anywhere, and like it always has a place.
I think like if you're valuing like, I mean, I think that it's up here with all the, like where it is right now, like near a Venusaur, a Gengar, like it's guaranteed in the same way like a Ghastly can be guaranteed, but it's much more plentiful, like it's much more abundant. If you lose a Gyarados, you could go and catch another one. So like that is a point in its favor in terms of just encounters and like what it offers. So yeah, I mean, as an encounter, it's just gonna really depend on how we're weighting it. Like I mentioned like, oh, I don't even know if he's S or A in this game, but like I do think like as an encounter he's easily S tier. As a Pokemon in this game, he might be able to be argued to be a little lower just because he's like way worse in Gen 3 than all of the later generations. But I feel like, I mean, he's like tied with Ghastly for me as an encounter. Like it's just, so like I could see him above or below. I think these two guys are pretty much equivalent for me.
Yeah, you don't know. Like, yeah, like I had it higher than Gengar, so like I would say it's better just because yeah, I think overall you're just getting more value out of it. But and yeah, maybe it is kind of hard to kind of balance the whole like the value of the encounter itself versus the value of the Pokemon in a Nuzlocke.
Right, like those two states are intertwined, I think, of like what it is like as an encounter, a Pokemon you can encounter, and then how that encounter plays out on a team. And I think throughout this tier list we've been valuing both of those things. So
yeah,
this is where it gets a little muddy. It gets a little gray of like, if we're looking at it purely as the encounter, it shoots up to like number 1. If we're looking at it balanced against those other things, it can be like down here. Like, it's close.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think we could leave it here and, you know, kind of see where we think maybe at the end.
Yeah, we'll put it here for now, and then we'll return to this at the end and just see what we're thinking.
Alright, next we have Lapras, and I had this in S.
As did I.
Yeah, like, you know, Lapras is the best ice type in the game.
Right, like this is we joked earlier that this type combination of water ice is already B tier. And then we have, like, this is the best water ice type in the game, so.
Lapras is just really good, like it's, you know, it's got good stats, the typing is obviously good. It has a pretty good learn set, because I think it can learn Thunderbolt? I know it can learn Thunder, I think. I don't actually know if it can learn Thunderbolt.
It has a pretty good learn set, like.
Yeah, and it's a gift Pokemon, so like, you know, you have to go through Silph Co, but like, you gotta do that anyway.
You're doing that anyway, and it's just given to you.
Yeah, so like, it's just a really good Pokemon.
In terms of placement, like, yeah, I don't have anything to add to that of just like, it's incredible. Like, if you're allowing it, like, it's just so good. I'd probably put it below Jynx.
Yeah.
Just because it's not quite as fast or like deadly. It's more of a wall. It's a defensive wall, and it's filling a different niche there. But I think Jynx like carries you a little more at the end than Lapras does, but it's still really good. Okay, after Lapras is Ditto. I had him in C tier.
Yeah, same.
Like, there's not much to say about this in terms of like, you can catch him in you can catch him in 2 locations. So like, maybe you'll get him. And I can't say I've never used a Ditto, because in the normal Monolock run, we did use the Ditto, and it did work alright against Giovanni. But like, that's just kind of shows like what a situational Pokemon Ditto is. It's like just kind of, its versatility is its greatest weakness in that like, it can be anything, but it can be anything on turn 2. And like, it's just not really giving you that much.
Yeah, like, Ditto's just, he's basically like a gimmick Pokemon. Like, the gimmick isn't really that useful in a Nuzlocke.
He's also held back by the fact that like, any boss fight that you're doing in this game outside of like Blue is basically a monotype trainer. So if you copy a Pokemon, then all of a sudden all of your moves are weak against the rest of the Pokemon on that person's team. So that's just not really great strategically. Like, and it kind of just like, its versatility is immediately nullified by the fact that every Pokemon it's then facing in that fight is of the same type. So this is a pretty like bottom C tier Pokemon to me.
Yeah. Okay, so next we have Eevee, and we're, you know, grouping Eevee and the evolutions as one encounter. I had them in S. I had them as my top encounter in the game.
I didn't have them as my top encounter, but I did have them as an obvious S. And I think like, maybe it's just because I also weighted like its usefulness after the encounter, like in the entire game. But I mean, it's up there. Like,
yeah, I think I weighted it as an encounter higher than its value as a Pokemon, but like, it is a good Pokemon. Like, the evolutions, aside from like Flareon in this generation, like, are good. I think like the big thing to me, like why I consider the best encounter in the game, is because like, in the context of a Nuzlocke, like, you know, you don't always have like a lot of options and control, but like, Eevee like is the one time like you get to choose like whatever you need in that situation. Like, if you need a water type, a fire type, or an electric type, like, you can just get one. So like, I think that's, to me, like, that's like the ultimate Pokemon in like a Nuzlocke. Like, it kind of becomes what you need it to be, and like, they're decent Pokemon. So
I would agree with that in like the broad Nuzlocke sense. But if we're looking at just Fire Red and Leaf Green, I would like say like, while Eevee can turn into any of those things, in a Nuzlocke, in this game, how often is that thing that it's turning into not a Jolteon? Because,
yeah, I mean, Vaporeon's good.
Vaporeon's good, but so is Lapras, so is Tentacruel.
Yeah.
So is Poliwrath. Like, there's a million good water types in this game, and chances are you know that you're going to get another one, because you probably already have a Gyarados on the team when you get the Eevee. So, like, for me, at the very least, it is, like, nullified. It's dampened a little bit by the fact that, like, it can turn into 3 things, but in a Nuzlocke, generally, I think that Jolteon is way, way, way more likely to be the one that you choose. and is above and beyond the best one for a Nuzlocke, just given, because Jolteon is a really good electric type too. So I think that even though it has the versatility, a lot of times that versatility is not manifesting itself in a Nuzlocke run.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think 9 times out of 10 you're going for Jolteon. That is the best choice. I just think, yeah, I guess maybe I am valuing like the potential of Eevee as an encounter so highly, but like I think either way, like I think it's still like an S tier encounter because like yeah, it's a gift Pokemon and like it's a Stone Evo, whatever you choose. Like it's still really good.
My saucy take, Mike, and this might be something that you argue on. My saucy take would be to put it just above Lapras.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I've made my personal point clear. So like, I don't know. I don't need to like. I don't know. I don't know if I want to like argue like how does it stack compared to like Jynx and Bulbasaur and the rest? Because like
it's hard because there's a lot of different ways to look at it. Like
yeah.
I mean, it's an S tier, and I think that at least on that we can like be very clear and very solid.
And like I think, yeah, I don't know, because like just where you have it right now, I think like the things above it are all like, you know, they're all really good like for the end game, especially the Elite Four. Whereas Eevee might not be like it'd still be good. Like Jolteon could be good.
Jolteon is good against Lorelei, and then it's okay against Blue, and like that's kind of what it's offering. And it can be useful. Like, you can use it against Lance if you have to. So like it has a good use at the Elite Four. But I don't think it's a Jynx. Like
yeah, I think that's fair.
All right. Next up we have Porygon. This one was an interesting one. Like I put it in C tier.
Yeah, same.
Like it's okay, but I do think it's like higher in C tier, but it's still a C tier to me because like you have to use up your Celadon encounter, which like we haven't talked about this a lot for all of the Game Corner picks, but like we just talked about how good Eevee is, and any other Celadon encounter you're blowing that Eevee encounter for. So like, is it worth trading an Eevee for a Porygon that you need 9,999 coins to buy? No. And like the only thing you get from it is that it's like it gets like a psychic move, which might be useful for you if for some reason you don't have another psychic type and you can't use the psychic TM because like you lost it or something. Like so Porygon, and its stats are like okay, but they're nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. So like Porygon is interesting, but for everything else you can buy at the Game Corner and the Eevee that you can get in Celadon, it's not at all worth it. So
yeah, I don't think I have too much more to add. I think they're just better things you can get in Celadon, and it's an okay normal type, so I don't know how much value it's actually adding.
Right, this thing is not great in a normal Nuzlocke run. Maybe in a mono normal lock it can be interesting, but like we used it in ours. But in a normal run, maybe here, just for that Psybeam.
Yeah. Okay, so next up we have the Ammonite line and the Kabuto line. And I had them in B tier.
Yeah, I put him in B tier. Like, I'm not super knowledgeable about these guys, but I think that they're like, just looking at their type and their movesets, like B tier feels appropriate.
Yeah, they're interesting because like they are like, you know, a guaranteed encounter. You can't really access them until, you know, the end of the game, and like I don't know like how much value they're adding because like like Water Rock is like an okay typing. But I think, Ammonite is the better one just because it's a better special attacker. So you're getting more value out of, like, the Surf Ice Beam you're going to be running.
Right, I would agree. Like, they're both pretty equivalent, and, like, there's not much reason to use them outside of, like, just liking them and thinking, cool, I'll add one of those on the team. Again, they have that same thing with every water type in this game. With such a wealth of options, like, why would you choose them,
Yeah.
So they're guaranteed. I mean, I'm honestly not even sure where I'd place them. Probably above the Hitmons.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like right, like middle of the road for me. Like maybe like there.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Aerodactyl, the other fossil. I had him in A tier.
So did I.
Like he's really good. I don't think he cracks into the S tier necessarily, but he's really strong. And obviously, being a fossil, you can just get him for free if you'd like. So it's a great Pokemon. It has a lot of power, and it's also good for like you can use it to take out a lot of like dangerous Pokemon. I'd say like where like you send it in just like to just do massive damage. Like in like a difficult run, if you're like having difficulty and you've lost a lot, adding an Aerodactyl isn't a bad idea. Like as like a free flying type with like a good power base and like a good learn set. Like I just think he's pretty solid and just obviously is really fast. So like he's really good. He's really just kind of like never the best Pokemon, but always good.
Yeah, I think, yeah, the best thing to say is that he's just a solid Pokemon. Like, he's fast, he's strong, you know, he can have a decent moveset for damage. And yeah, he's a guaranteed encounter, so.
Would you say, like, where would you say in A tier?
I don't know, like, I had him at the very bottom of A for me.
Yeah, like, I was thinking toward the bottom at least. Like, no way he's above, like, the Pikachu. Like, he's definitely below that. I'd be okay putting him at the bottom as well, just because he's kind of, like, not appearing on the team for very long. But he's, you know, he's good.
Alright, so next up we have Snorlax. And I had him in S. Yeah, like, Snorlax is just really good. Like, he has really good stats. He's bulky. He has a good moveset. You can run Psychic on him if you need to.
You can run like Surf, you can run Psychic, you can run like really anything.
Yeah, and like, you know, Stab, Strength, Body Slam, like you're doing a lot of damage.
Right, you're doing a lot of damage, you're living for a long time, you can use Rest if you need to, and like teach him Snore, like there's a lot.
Yeah, and I don't know if we really like factored into this, but like the leftovers.
Yeah, having it like put the leftovers on this bad boy.
Yeah.
And you know, like, there are 2 encounter locations for this thing that are both guaranteed.
Yeah, he's a static encounter, which helps.
So like overall, he's easily the best normal type in this game, and just one of the best Pokemon overall. I don't think anyone can argue that. I would probably just put him like right above the Lapras.
Yeah.
Like always welcome on a team, always good for the team. He's gonna do what you need him to do. Okay, and our last Pokemon, the Dratini line.
I actually had them top of A.
I had them at bottom of S, but I did have them in S. Mostly because of the fact that it's a game corner encounter too, so like you can buy it.
Yeah.
Like if it's like purely based off of encounters, I understand A, like because it's really hard to get it in the Safari Zone. But if you're buying this thing, like I feel like it's an A tier or it's an S tier encounter. I don't think there's too much I need to say outside of the fact that like it being a pseudo legendary obviously gives it incredible stats. It can learn a ton of versatile moves, and just in pretty much every way, it's a monstrous Pokemon. And the fact that you can buy it as an encounter, like it definitely is in the running for one of the encounters you would want to buy in Celadon. Like if you are allowing purchasing Pokemon from the game corner, like if you already have an Abra, or if you just like have a Hypno or something and just want to like just be content with that and then buy the Dragonite, like buy the Dratini, like it's always really, really good. And like it can learn Fly, which is good. It can, like, you know, get a lot of good stab moves. Like it's not as good as maybe a Dragon type in a different generation, but it's still really, really good.
Yeah, like I'm not opposed to seeing them in S. Like I think, yeah, at the very least it's top of A. Dragonite's an incredible Pokemon with, you know, good stats, a really good moveset. And yeah, the fact that you can get it in the game corner, you know, definitely helps it, because you know you can avoid the Safari Zone. I think the only thing that really hurts it is the fact like you get Dragonite so late. You know, I think Dratini and Dragon are like okay. Like you might be, you know, they might not be offering too much until it becomes Dragonite, but like once you have Dragonite, like yeah, I mean he's clearly like an Elite Four team.
Right, like that's fair. I think that throughout this tier list, it's definitely like, I feel like I have been really highly valuing Elite Four performance. But like you're right, like if before the Elite Four, you're not really using this that much. It's kind of like a drain on the team, honestly, to train it up, because like it's not super used. Like Dragonair is good, but it's not incredibly useful, and it doesn't have the learn set that the Dragonite has. So like from that perspective, I would be okay kind of dropping it to just like top of A. Just because it's like you're using it for one portion of the game, like one narrowly defined portion of the game, where a lot of the other S tiers, while like maybe you're picking them up just for the Elite Four, the rest of them can be used in plenty of other situations.
Yeah, that was kind of my line of thinking with it.
Well, you've convinced me. But with that, we've done them all. I do think Mike and I are going to take a minute here and just comb through and maybe make a few like fine-tuning adjustments and see if there's any glaring mistakes here. So we're gonna go do that, and then I guess we'll come back and we'll just consolidate everything and give our final overview. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, we're back. Mike and I did convene the council, and through a little bit of discussion and back and forth, we've kind of ended on this version of the list. If you look at S tier is pretty much ordered. Like, Mike and I differ a little bit on some of our opinions, such as on Gyarados and Eevee and things like that, but this is a pretty solid, like, ordered list for S tier on what we think in terms of how beneficial the encounter is, how easy it was to get, just different things like that. This is roughly ordered for the Fire Red and Leaf Green Nuzlocke. And then tiers A through C are roughly ordered in the fact that, like, you know, we did jump through them, and as we did the video itself, kind of roughly ordered everything, but we didn't necessarily go over this with a fine-tooth comb. So, like, there are definitely some Pokemon that can jump up or down within the tier, so I wouldn't take it as gospel based on its placement in here. Just take it as like a rough guideline. And in terms of big changes we made in terms of tiers, we didn't really make a lot of huge changes. We did bump Sandslash up to B tier, just because I think his utility on Surge shouldn't be undervalued and just like being useful. And he's still okay in the early game. He's not perfect, but he's good. But other than that, things have mostly stayed roughly the same. And this is our tier list for the encounters in Fire Red and Leaf Green within a hardcore Nuzlocke. So, Mike, do you have anything to say? Any final words on this list?
No, I mean, I think you covered it pretty well. Like, yeah, I think S tier's, you know, ranked about as well as I think we could. But, yeah, like the lower tiers, like A through C, like, they're a bit harder to completely, like, define. Like, all this is subjective, and, like, things can change based on the situation you're in a Nuzlocke. But I think this is a pretty good, comprehensive list of, you know, our thoughts on all the encounters based on our experience.
Right. And, you know, this is, I think that's the operative thing, right? Like, this is based on our experience playing the Nuzlocke, and obviously we're nowhere near all knowing about these games and, like, Nuzlocking Fire Red and Leaf Green, even with how much we've done it. There's plenty that we don't know, so I would say, let us know what you think. Like, is there anybody that we've grossly underrated or overrated? Like, tell us what kind of stupidity we're engaging in here. Like, there are definitely going to be some gaps in our knowledge, and there are for sure some places on this list where we just got things entirely wrong. So let us know. Don't be too mean to us, but let us know in the comments. And I would appreciate it if you know, enjoyed this. Liking the video would help, because we did put a lot of work. I know that it's just a tier list and it doesn't seem like it's that crazy, but we did put a lot of work into preparing for and thinking about, in general, like, where we would rank these Pokemon, because, you know, ranking every Pokemon in the game is a bit of a task. You know, I would appreciate any show of support on that. And as always, you know, we're going to continue to do tier lists. We're going to continue to do various runs of Fire Red and Leaf Green and other Pokemon games. So if you enjoy that type of content and want to see more of us and what we do with this, then I would encourage you to subscribe. And I hope we will see you soon. And, as always, stay phenomenal.